Hey, what's up everybody and welcome back to the channel, or if you're finding my channel for the first time today through this video, then welcome to my channel for the first time. And today's video is something a little bit different. It's NATO versus the USA military power comparison 2026, who is stronger. And I felt like that this is a bit of a relevant video with everything that's going on right now, because well, I don't need to spell it out, do I? I mean, anybody who watches the news, even, casually, knows that right now the world is in a bit of a crazy place, and it's, it is a bit unsettling when you watch it, like the war going on in the Middle East right now. Since Iran started kicking off, things have been getting absolutely crazy, and it's affecting everybody, even people that are not involved in the war, because Great Britain as a country, as a nation, isn't involved in the war specifically with Iran. We said that we're not going to go into conflict with Iran, but the final batch of aviation jet fuel was delivered to the United Kingdom yesterday, and there's no more coming, meaning that as soon as we've run out of jet fuel, there will be no more commercial flights able to take off unless we can get more fuel from somewhere. And there's also, it's the same story with car fuel as well. There's no petrol or diesel. People are rushing to fill their cars up. We're running out of petrol and diesel, and pretty soon there's going to be none left. The only people that are going to be able to drive their cars around are people who have electric cars. I'm not encouraging electric cars or bigging them up. I think they're soulless. They are literally the final stage in taking cars to the level of being just appliances, like washing machines, toasters, and phones. Yeah, but, the power, yeah. Anyway, this war, it's affecting everybody in many different ways, but this is strictly about the military power comparison. And as we know, the biggest military in the world is, well, in terms of personnel, like how many actual human soldiers they've got. If you were to measure a military in size by how many enlisted soldiers they have, then that is China. As we know, they've got, I can never remember the exact number, but I'm sure it's an 8-figure number. Is it something like ridiculous, like 15 million enlisted soldiers or something? Now, it's not entirely surprising because they have a huge population. They have a population of over 1 billion people. But when it comes to sheer firepower, technology, the sheer sophistication of their jet fighters, their precision bombing technology, precision missile technology, ground air-to-air missiles, ground-to-air missiles, ground-to-ground, where you fire a missile from one place on the ground to hit another ground target 100 miles away. Oh, things like that. America is just ahead of everyone. Except for nuclear weapons. Russia is ahead of every other country in nuclear weapons. But when it comes to the Air Force, America takes the Air Force in size and sophistication. Also the sophistication and technology of the weapons, handheld weapons. I think America was also the first country to properly make and successfully use a railgun, which 20 years ago they were the stuff of science fiction, and now they're a reality. They're also already testing laser guns, precision laser weapons. In fact, I'm pretty sure they already have one. I'm sure I saw a video about a laser gun that's already mounted on an American battleship. So yeah, but this video is going to show a comparison between the American Navy and NATO. And I don't trust NATO to protect me, my country, at all. It's governed by Brussels, and the European Union is heavily involved in the governance of NATO. And the European Union is Yeah. I'm going to hold back my political opinions because I don't want to, you say the wrong word and suddenly 50 people leave your video because you don't agree with their opinion on something. But I'm just going to leave it at I don't trust NATO, I don't trust Brussels or the European Union to protect me, my family, or my country, or have me or my family or my country's best interests at heart in terms of safety and protection from outside dangers such as Iran firing long-range missiles. But we're going to see the comparison. Now, I know that in this comparison it's going to show things like the how advanced the weapons are. Well, I don't know that, but it might show that. And I have seen a video about American military technology, and I know that they have unmanned aircraft that can already fly better than manned jet fighters. They did a test where they had an unmanned aircraft and they fitted it with lasers, like laser guns. Like when we used to go to Laser Quest as kids, it was like that. So you shoot and you hit a target and it registers on your thing. They fit that to the unmanned jet that was being flown by a computer. And they had one of their best Air Force aces pilots fly I think it was an F-22, and the aircraft being flown by a computer shot him down like 10 times. If it was a real dogfight, it would have killed him. It'd have shot his plane down anyway. It might have ejected. But every time it shot him, they reset and, it said, right, start trying other maneuvers. Everything he tried, it just kept up with him and kept shooting him down. Well, I think that was America, or was that us? It was either us or them. I remember seeing a news article about it. It was massive. But let's have a look at this.
Welcome back to Battle Nation. NATO versus USA military power comparison. Welcome back to Battle Nation. NATO versus USA military power comparison.
Also, just a warning to everybody. I don't know if it's my OBS on my computer, but it's been very laggy if I talk and move whilst YouTube videos are playing. It seems only to be YouTube videos that it does it with. When I'm recording my reactions to TV series and other websites, it's not really a problem, it's just YouTube. But if I talk while a YouTube video is playing, well, I'll show you. Am I lagging? Am I lagging? Blah, 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 you see? So when I talk, I'm going to pause. You see, even the difference between the headquarters of NATO and, well, that's the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. It's just so much better. That it's a classic American architecture. It's a beautiful building. It's traditional. It's proud. It's part of America's heritage. It's even the surrounding area, the greenery, the trees, the pure green colour of that grass, and knowing that every time a new president is sworn in, he stands on this platform and, pledges to the Constitution and, just the history contained on that part of that location. The people who have stood there, Kennedy, I'm not a fan of him, but he's a significant figure in American history. Obama, all the greatest presidents have stood there and put their hand on a Bible and sworn to defend the Constitution. And then in this building, it's just, they'll have leaders of NGOs going in saying, "Oh, you can't do this because you're going to upset these people." You've got people like Starmer and Boris Johnson and David Cameron will have been in there. And Macron, and it just makes me sick. arsehole. Mark Rutte, arsehole. Donald Trump, I know a lot of people don't like him, but I'd take him over anyone in any position of power, in any part of significant power in the European Union or NATO, in any position, because I just do not trust them. I don't trust them. Okay, maybe you should have changed that to Europe rather than... That's not the population of NATO. NATO isn't a country, the person who made this video. Isn't it crazy? The GDP of America is higher than the GDP of the entirety of Europe. That just shows how much Europe has fallen. This is Europe. The continent... I mean, well, let's be honest, it was mostly us. It was mostly the British, but Europe as a whole gave birth to the world that you live in today. Every significant thing that you use in your daily life to make your daily life more comfortable, to make it safer, such as medication, such as vaccines and the drugs that you take to treat your cancer, to treat your depression. Well, actually, no, I won't say antidepressants because they're not the best things. Your car, for example, your car, your television, your toaster, your kettle, your light bulb. And no, I don't care what you've got to say about the light bulb. We know who invented it. The lock on your front door that stops someone being able to just walk into your house, which you're at higher risk of now more than ever. The fact that if you have a heart attack in the street, an ambulance will come and they will have technology aboard that will restart your heart. The fact that you can pick up this phone and call someone on the other side of the planet for free. All these things that we have came from Europe. And you know, and now our GDP is less than a single country. I know it's America, it's the USA, and they are huge manufacturers. But, you know, think of the countries that you've got in Europe. You've got Germany, who make some of the finest cars in the world. Italy as well. And think of just the sheer amount of food products that Italy exports. Because Italian food is beloved the world over. I love Italian food. It is one of my favourite. It's probably it might actually be my favourite food apart from British food. Really. Well, English food. But I love British food as well. But yeah, do you know, I just find it crazy. All the countries in Europe and everything that they manufacture, and our GDP is still less than the USA. It just shows how far we've fallen. Defence budget. $485 billion for NATO. $895 billion for the USA. The entire defence budget for an entire continent of 30... How many countries did it show are in Europe now? Because it keeps changing. Because countries keep realising that it's a joke and want to leave. $31 countries in NATO, including us, and the entire budget to protect those countries is less than $500 billion. Defence budget of the USA, one country, which is massive, they have the same advantage as Russia. You couldn't beat Russia in a nuclear war because the country literally stretches across the top of the entire world. If you go to the far west coast of Russia, you're a 4-hour plane journey from Scotland. If you go to the far east coast of Russia, you're a 6-hour plane journey from Los Angeles. You can literally walk across the sea into Alaska from Russia when it's winter. Have you ever seen ice truckers on telly? They literally drive across the frozen ocean from Alaska to Russia, and vice versa, or at least they used to do before they invaded Ukraine. Yeah. America has huge size on their side, but they still have this huge defense budget because, well, it just seems like good sense. The world is changing. It's becoming a dangerous place. More and more countries are getting involved in conflicts. I'm amazed that, I mean, do you know what? With everything that's going on right now, World War III hasn't started officially, but it might as well be. Because America's getting involved. We said that we're not going to get involved with Iran, but we're already involved. We're giving Ukraine billions every month. We're giving Israel and Palestine money. We're sending money to both countries. You know, we're sending aid to Palestine and aid to... It's ridiculous. We're funding wars that we have nothing to do with, that the result either way of any of them are not going to benefit or affect us in any way. Yeah, this just makes me so mad. It gets me talking about things and reminds me about things, and I just can't help but mention them. Nuclear weapons. 515 NATO, 5,044 USA. Joke. Military personnel. 5,870,000 for NATO, 2.1 million for USA. But I bet they're better trained. Active personnel, 2,077,000 NATO, 1.328 million for America. Alright. The USA doesn't have any paramilitary force? That's interesting. Here we go. Total aircraft, NATO, 7,969, USA, 13,043. Yeah. I mean, that itself just tells you everything you need to know. And people say, oh, there's no point having soldiers with guns on the ground and fighter jets with missiles and blah, blah, blah. The next war's going to be fought with a single bomb. No, it's not. If World War III did kick off, it would at first start as World War II. It would be boots on the ground, man-to-man combat, and air-to-air combat. Nuclear weapons would only be fired as a last resort, like they were in World War II. Because as mad as the people in some countries are, they know that if they launch a weapon like that at their own country, that they could suddenly have the nuclear might of another 15 countries suddenly attacking them, and they don't have enough to fight against all those countries. So, yeah, this matters. Having that many aircraft would benefit the USA in a full-blown worldwide conflict. It matters. Fighter aircraft. Quite similar. But again, NATO's fighter aircraft, they seem to rely on fighter jets that were advanced at one time, but now, yeah, they're just analog when the ones America have are digital, you know? Like, NATO relies on aircraft like the Eurofighter or the Typhoon. I mean, I know that we've started to use the F-35. We bought some of those from America. In fact, I think, wasn't it a joint venture, the F-35, because we made some of the components for it, us, Britain. But even the X-35, the American fighter jet that can take off vertically, the engine comes out and like drops. Oh, it's amazing. That aircraft is like, must be nearly 20 years old now, and even that was more advanced than some of the aircraft NATO's still using today. So, yeah, it's not just how many they have, it's how advanced they are. And we do lag behind the USA in that. They do have a very modern fleet of fighter aircraft. You know, the F-35s, the X-35s. I don't know how many F-15s they have left, but even though they're old now, they are very old now, they're still incredible fighter aircraft. And they can do multi-role as well. They're multi-role aircraft, actually. They can bomb as well. They can carry a significant bomb payload. The F-18s as well, incredible aircraft. Just so versatile. Great range, fantastic speed. The F-16, I think there was two types of F-16. There was the Fighting Falcon, and there was another one, but I can't remember the name of the other one. The A-10 Thunderbolt had regular commercial jet aircraft engines. So, you know, the turbine engines that you'd see on the plane that you'd go on holiday to Benidorm in. Engines like that, rather than the engines you see on the back of this or that. But it can carry an insane amount of weaponry. So it's just, yeah. And these aircraft I'm talking about here, these are from like 20 years ago. The USA was making aircraft better than us today, 20 years ago. It's just, yeah, I'm such a fan of American fighter jets. Just the aircraft they've built. In the 20th century, in the 60s and the 70s, we made the best aircraft, but the USA have completely jumped ahead of us. You know, when we made the Vulcan, the Harrier, things like that. But then, since the F-15, America has just leapt ahead of everybody. They've built some incredible military machines. There it is. Is that the F-35 or the X-35? I think that's the X-35. But even so, can the F-35 take off vertically as well? I'm pretty sure it can, right? That looks like an F-16. Oh wait, it is an F-16. It's got American. Yeah, that's American. That's an F-16. Yeah, FM. That is an amazing aircraft. Absolutely incredible. Do you know what? They were made around the same time. Well, not exactly around the same time, but not too far away from the time that the F-18 was made. So it's not like they even needed to make the F-16, because the F-18 was already an incredible aircraft. Whichever came first, one or the other was already fantastic. They didn't need the other. Oh, I just love American fighter jets. They're so much better than anybody else's. If you're an American and you're watching this and you've served in the American military, I think, in terms of the equipment that you had at your disposal, whether you were an infantryman or in the Air Force or in the Navy, you had the absolute best equipment at your disposal. You just did. But if you were in the Air Force, I am literally jealous and envious of you. Because the machines that you got to fly, oh man. Do you know what? If I could just talk to like an F-35 or an X-35 pilot, even for like 10 minutes in like a podcast interview, it'd be like a dream come true. Or an A-10 Thunderbolt pilot, oh my god. Half my questions would be about that cannon. Oh, that cannon on the front. Oh, it's. Oh, I'm kind of fanboying over the planes now. I'm an aviation freak. I just am. I can't help it. Yeah, even the transport aircraft America has are brilliant. Look at the... Right, so this is an American Navy or Air Force training aircraft. It's clearly powered by turbine or jet engines. And this is a NATO training aircraft, and it's got a propeller on the front. What are we doing? Why would you want to fight for NATO? Seriously, if a world war kicks off, or it's basically confirmed that it's going to kick off soon, you have time to, and you're somebody who wants to fight in the war, and you have time to make significant changes in your life, emigrate to the USA, become a citizen, and fight for America. You will just have all the best stuff, and you will win. You will win. You just will. Especially if you're in the Air Force. That's a de Havilland. I think, is that a de Havilland? Once again, a piston or turboprop propeller engined aircraft. Yet the USA's special mission aircraft is powered by, it could be Rolls-Royce or Pratt & Whitney's, I don't know. It's an American military special mission aircraft, so I'm guessing they're Pratt & Whitney's or JT's. But even that, just, oh, it's... Fail to prepare, prepare to fail. I'm sorry, but whenever I see a picture of a military jet fuel tanker aircraft with its fuel pipe out feeding another aircraft, it just reminds me of that Simpsons episode where, is it Homer or somebody who is it's Moe, who's sick of not being in a relationship and not getting any sex, and then he just starts seeing everything around him having sex, you know, the dogs, the cats, the people, and then he sees two planes. He sees a refueling jet and a fighter jet putting its refueling nozzle into the fighter jet, making out that even the planes are having sex. You know, like, it just reminds me of that Simpsons episode. Helicopters. The Blackhawks, the Apaches. Yeah, just even the helicopters the USA have are fantastic. The Apache was like, they used those for years. They still use them, I think. They were big in Afghanistan. And the Blackhawks, you know, there's even a movie about them. Well, it's not really about the helicopter, but it's, you know, Black Hawk Down. I love that film. Yeah. But the Black Hawk helicopters, they can literally fly down a street like 5 foot off the road if they need to. At like 30, 40 miles an hour. Oh, they're amazing. attacker helicopter. Learn to spell, you muppet. That's an Apache, right? Pretty cool. Combat tanks. No wait, I didn't see how many attacker helicopters. Yeah, they've even got more of those. Of course they have. Why wouldn't they? America has less tanks than NATO, but you know, modern warfare. There's less call for tank warfare in modern warfare settings now. I think tanks are really dedicated to defending land that's just like open fields. But I bet the American tanks are still more advanced. They'll have laser guns on them probably already. Who knows? If I do. Armoured vehicles. Humvee. Less than NATO. One thing I'll say about armoured vehicles, so the British Army, when we first deployed into Afghanistan, the only vehicles that our soldiers had was Land Rovers with, you know, like a desert camo military paint job, and they might have had bulletproof glass and bulletproof panelling in the doors, maybe, and that was it. But when they drove over a mine or an IED, the people inside were basically toast. So there was a huge government and military initiative to research and put money into research and development to build new armoured vehicles for the British Army. Now the first ones we used, we actually bought from the USA. I can't remember what they were called, but they were big, massive ones. I can't remember what they were called, but they really helped. And then we started building our own. And one of the ones that we built, I think it was called the Warthog. And it was, at the time, it was the lightest armoured military vehicle. It was still heavy. It still weighed something like 8, 9, 10 tons. But I think it was one of the lightest armoured military vehicles in the world. And we ended up with these really tough vehicles that no bullet could get through it. Not even a 50 cal bullet. RPGs would just bounce off the side. And if they drove over a mine, they might topple over, but they also built a machine for the soldiers to sit inside that was basically the interior of the vehicles, and they turned it upside down so they could even prepare for that. So, yeah, there was a point where British military armoured vehicles were the best in the world, when we were learning from mistakes made in Afghanistan. But America stuck with the Humvee for years, and they wouldn't do that if they weren't, in the soldiers' opinions at the very least, the best. So there must be something right with them. They do look good. Although they look tougher. The NATO vehicles look tougher. If I was in a war, I'd rather be in the NATO vehicles than that. That looks more vulnerable to me. But I know that the Humvees are good vehicles, because they keep on using them, so there must be something about them. I don't know what it is, but it must be something about them the soldiers are happy with. Artillery. Again, this is a side of warfare that's not as prevalent as it was in World War II. So, artillery, so flak for bombing raids. You know, the Germans had a lot of flak guns on the north coast of France. When the Americans were flying over into Europe. The Germans had all their flak guns stationed on the coast of France, and well, they had them all over trying to shoot down the C-47s carrying soldiers into France. But now these, I mean, these aren't going to shoot down a modern fighter jet. They're just not. You know, the scramble technology that modern fighter jets have, they can just basically hack in. Well, I don't know if this is already possible, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's already a missile defense system on a fighter jet that basically hacks into the missile that's heading towards it and changes its course. And if that hasn't been done yet, then that is definitely the next step. It started with the flares, the chaff flares that came out of the back of the engines of jet fighters. It was just like a ball of fire that the missile had run into, and it'd burn it and cause it to explode far away from the aircraft so it didn't hit it. But the next step will be hacking into the missile that's firing towards it, if it isn't already. But yeah, I'm pretty sure somebody's done that. I'm pretty sure. I remember reading something about some sort of test where I don't know if it was an aircraft or a military vehicle or something, where they fired a missile. It didn't have any explosives in it. It just had the technology that makes a missile fly. Because obviously they weren't going to fire something at their own people that would blow them up. And I think the new technology that they were testing and developing to, protect against incoming armament knocked the missile off course. I don't think it hacked into it and changed its course. They weren't able to, log into the missile and set its coordinates, but it knocked it off course. I'm pretty certain I read that in an article. So they've done that. But mind you, that's good enough. If you can knock it off course by 10 degrees, that's enough. Self-propelled arse. Oh. That has an Italian flag on it. Towed artillery. Yeah, see, something else America's moving away from. It's just, they're kind of old-fashioned now, those. Rocket projectors. Well, we know that Russia has a lot of these. I've seen videos of them firing them at Ukraine. There's loads of videos of Russian rocket projectors. Yeah, these things are crazy. When you see them firing the entire cache of missiles in one go, it's just like, wow. I remember when we used to have bonfire night as kids, and I don't know if this is how your family used to do it, but the way my family used to do it, we'd get like a big one. After we'd used all the smaller ones in the box, we'd get like a big one that had like 50 things that would fire out of it that were basically like mini rockets for like the big finale. They're like that. They just, fire like 6 or 12 or 18 missiles. Oh, they're crazy, those. Yeah. Surprising that America has less of those, though. I know, like, the two things that it showed before this, these are kind of in the same category, except they fire missiles rather than shells. But, But yeah, look, they're transported on a tracked vehicle, very heavy, not great for efficiency, how quick they can get one of those into a position. So, yeah, you're better off with a fighter jet that can get to the same place in a 50th of the time. So, understandable why they don't have as many of those. If that's the reason. I'm just guessing here. Fleet strength. Oh, is this the Navy? Okay. Yeah, okay. So the USA has a smaller Navy fleet strength than NATO, but again, the one thing that no one else beats the USA on is aircraft carriers. Their aircraft carriers are like small towns at this point. American aircraft carrier, they're basically airports on the water with an engine that can push it from one place to another. They've got hospitals in them. Like, oh, it's crazy. Oh, yeah. Like the latest aircraft carrier they built, I remember reading something about it, saying everything that it had in it, the amount of space and how many people could actually live on that aircraft carrier, and how they could live on it forever if they needed to. You know, they're not going to, but the equipment and the facilities on board that aircraft carrier would mean they would be able to live on it for their entire military service career. If they wanted to, they could do that comfortably. You know, as a hospital and entertainment facilities and food, and yeah, it's just, yeah, the USA makes the best aircraft carriers. Move on. Oh, aircraft carriers. NATO's got 5, America's got 11. So they've got double the aircraft carriers that NATO has. And again, look at this. This just looks basic. This is an aircraft carrier. I mean, look. I think that they look like Harriers, and there's like 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm guessing there might be another one behind that, and that might be another one there. But on this aircraft carrier, the American, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a drone. Is that a radar plane? That's an F-18. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, nearly 30 aircrafts on the American aircraft carrier, and there's 5 on the NATO one. And I can see the difference in how much space the aircraft on the NATO aircraft carrier are taking up versus how much space the aircraft on the USA aircraft carrier are taking up. Like this, for example, we've all seen these. These are the aircraft with the big wings and the big radar dish in like the middle of the fuselage. Those are massive. And it's just a speck on the deck. You know? It's, oh, yeah. I didn't go into this intending to big up the USA, but I just can't help it because they're just better than us. They just are. Helicopter carriers, they've even got more of those than we do. They've got 9, we've got 3. Submarines. NATO have 78, America has 70. Okay. Thing about submarines is, though, the amount of secrecy that's involved with submarines. You know, they are used mostly for keeping an eye on the enemy and what they're doing, so the USA probably has submarines that even people high up in the military don't know about. They probably have submarines that the only people that know it exists are the people that are on it, operating it right now. And the one director general, or maybe even just the president who ordered it to do something. That is very possible. Because submarines are the importance of secrecy when it comes to the operations that submarines go on, the missions that submarines go on, is of utmost importance. So they probably have submarines that nobody knows about, and the same with NATO, same with anybody, you know? Submarines are very vulnerable. Once they find one, they just need to get a submarine of their own. You know, it's already underwater. You just hit it with a torpedo in the right place, and everybody on board that thing is dead. Do you know, again, if there's anybody watching this who is in any military and you served on a submarine, you deserve so much respect because you took on a task that is so dangerous. You don't have the option of rescue if you get into difficulties in a submarine. Like the most severe type of difficulty, if you take a direct hit from an enemy submarine, you are sinking and you are going to drown. You will die. If you're in a fighter jet and you get hit by a missile or shot by a gun on another jet, you have the option to eject and land on the ground. Yeah, you might get captured and become a prisoner of war, but you'll still be alive. If you're on an aircraft carrier, you're pretty much invulnerable these days. If you're a soldier, an infantryman, and you get shot, you have medics around you who can, patch you up and send you back to the medical facility, back at base. You have options, but on a submarine, you have no options. Unless it's a very minor amount of damage, you get lucky, and you just quickly run back to the submarine pen. Okay, but if if there's a hole, if that torpedo puts a hole in your submarine, it's going to fill up with water and sink. Especially if the hole is below the waterline. Because, if you get hit by a torpedo on, like, the top part of the submarine, then it can quickly return to the surface and put the part of the hole that's been breached above the water and stop filling up. Then you have a chance. But yeah, just so much respect for Navy men and women who serve on submarines. You have balls of steel. Figures. That figures. The USA doesn't have any frigates? Interesting. Mind you, again, bit of an old-fashioned idea. Yeah, big in World War II. More about the destroyers that it showed before. Corvettes. Fair enough. Patrol vessels. 295. Yeah, the USA doesn't need patrol vessels, though. It's, again, pretty much invulnerable. It's a huge country with a huge coastline. And every inch of it is guarded. Well, not guarded, but, it's the Coast Guard. So the first country that dares even trying to fly over the American coast with a bomber or whatever, someone's going to see it and radio in to the nearest military base. So they don't need that. We need them in Europe because there's so many countries in Europe that have a coast, especially countries in Scandinavia and, Holland, France, Germany. Their north coasts are vulnerable to Russia if they started. And here in Britain, we have quick response air crews that have intercepted quite a few more Russian military aircraft in the last few years than I'd like to have heard about. Yep. A few times they've tried their luck by passing the invisible boundary in the North Sea where we say anybody who crosses this line is basically a hostile. It is hostile. You know, we're treating you as a hostile entity, and they've crossed over that line in fighter jets or military aircraft a few times in the last couple of years. Russia, they're just testing us. You know, we haven't shot them down. I don't think. No, we haven't. We'd hear about that. I'm pretty sure. But they've sent people up. They've sent the RAF up to meet them in fighter jets and guide them back past the line, and they've pissed off. But it's scary. Mind you, again, it's not scary because if Russia wanted to do anything to us, they could just do it. They don't need to send one aircraft. Russia, their nuclear target map for Britain is readily available on the internet. And one of their main targets is a town a city not too far from me. And the current weapons that they use, the fallout area would reach my town. Now, so when a nuclear weapon is, deployed, there's different levels depending on the which fallout area you end up in. If you're in the immediate few hundred meters from the center, you just become dust. You're vaporized. Then a bit further out, you'll get third-degree burns, and you'll die of radiation poisoning within 24 to 48 hours. And then if you're in the zone that I'm in, from the target, which is Leeds is a target, it's on their target list, they've released it, it's on the internet. If you're in my town, we're basically in the guaranteed to get terminal cancer within 5 to 10 years zone. That's where we are. Yeah. Not too happy about being in that particular zone. And that's based on the weapons they were confirmed to have about 10, 15 years ago. And we know they've got stronger weapons now. So we might even be in the first or second or maybe third degree burns and thingy zone by now. Who knows? Yeah, but if there's a website where you can check if a nuclear bomb was dropped in one location, if the fallout area would reach your location. If you live in a major city, then it would. But if you live in a small town like me, you might be far out that it doesn't immediately vaporize you. Mine is that sea mines? America doesn't bother with that, do they? Because they don't need to. Again, they've got a huge coastline. No one's gonna bother. Oh, it's over. No one's gonna mess with them. Yeah, so that was interesting. So, of course, the USA is stronger in certain areas, but the areas where it showed them being stronger were the ones that matter. So the Air Force, nuclear weapons, transport aircraft, GDP, the amount that they spend on their defense budget, almost twice the amount that NATO spends on it. Nuclear weapons, ridiculously more than NATO. Total military personnel, quite a lot less than NATO, but again, it's the quality of those personnel. It's not how many you've got, it's what you train them to do. An army of 500 Navy SEALs could be an army of 5,000 basic infantrymen that have just been on a 2-month basic training regime. If they did 2-month training regimes. Yeah. Like for example, the commandos, British commandos in World War II, they'd have beaten most basic training infantries. What else? Active personnel. Yeah. But they had a high reserve as well. No paramilitary. Aircraft. That's where they showed strength. A lot of aircraft, but again, how advanced they are. The unmanned aircraft they've got. Fighter aircraft. Not a huge difference, but again, the quality of aircraft that they have, much higher. Dedicated aircraft, much higher than NATO. Transport aircraft, higher than NATO. Trainers, higher amount. And also, from the pictures, more advanced. Yeah. Special mission. Yeah, and also propeller, jet, like, come on. Tankers, more tankers, but they've got more fighter jets and they've got more aircraft in general, so they need more fuel tankers. More helicopters, more attacker helicopters as well, learn to spell. Combat tanks, about half as much as NATO, but not a big deal. Less armoured vehicles, less artillery. Yeah, just, it was interesting seeing what they've got less of and more of, but yeah, it's just, I actually reacted to a video of, well, I think I reacted to it anyway. It showed, like, advanced military technology being developed by the USA. And it was just, some of the things in that video was like science fiction. It was crazy. Yeah. But one thing that I want to make clear, the amount of times I pause the video to praise the fighter jets and the technology and the weapons or whatever it was that I was praising that the American military has at its disposal. As much as I did that, I just want to make one thing clear. I hope that there never comes a situation in which we have to see them exhibiting that technology in any other way than when they test it or when people who have signed up are training, doing their basic training and being taught how to use them. I hope that's the only time they ever have to be used. Again, it is important to spend a lot of money on defence to ensure that your country can defend itself if it needs to, but the whole point of having a powerful and well-funded military is so you never have to use it. So that nobody'll think, oh, we have a chance against them, let's declare war on them. Again, that's one of the benefits that comes with spending so much money on defence and having so many nuclear weapons. It's so that certain countries who don't have as much money to spend and don't have anywhere near as many nuclear weapons or as many fighter jets or as even half as advanced weaponry look at countries like the USA and think, yeah, well, we hate them and we want to take over the world, but if we try to take over America, if we try to take on America in a direct conflict, they're just going to destroy us. I don't think we should do this. That's the point, that's the whole point of it. So, yeah. But things are changing, aren't they? Yeah, it's getting a bit crazy out there with this whole Iran thing. I mean, this Israel-Palestine thing, it was bad. It was already very bad with them two going at each other. But, they'd reached a point where they were having ceasefires and things. But now that Iran's got involved and they've started bombing all these different countries, I mean, they bombed Burma. Why Burma? What has Burma got to do with Israel? And yeah, since they've got involved, it's changed the entire trajectory of where this war could have gone. Because Israel and Palestine have been at each other for years, and that's what it would have done if it had been just left to go how it was going. It'd have just stayed like that. They would have just kept fighting each other until one side had run out of soldiers, weapons, or reached a point where they were like, if we carry on, we're just going to lose our entire country. And let's be honest, it probably was going to be Palestine. Israel is very well funded. They have a much more advanced military and advanced weaponry, and Palestine doesn't. So it probably was going to reach that point. I mean, it's not a point that you want any country to reach, because it means they're going to have to lose a lot of people. But if it had just been left, that's where it would have gone, and it would have ended. But now Iran's involved, and America is jumping in to the deep end with 2 feet, and it's there's already a fuel crisis here in the UK, and we know that we're not getting any fuel from America. Trump's already told us to find our own oil, and again, that annoys me, because I know that the UK has plenty of oil, but we won't use it. We're surrounded by oil. There's loads of it in the North Sea, and if we drilled it, we would be self-sufficient on oil for decades to come. They say we're running out of oil in so many years. There's enough oil in the North Sea to keep Europe going for the next century at least, and it keeps coming back. I mean, just Google North Sea oil before it was, reduced and eventually dissolved. And we started buying oil from different countries instead of digging it up from the North Sea, which is basically, it pretty much belongs to us. Yeah, look how many barrels of oil was drilled from the North Sea per year when the North Sea Oil Company was drilling it. It was more than some countries were drilling, and that was just from one sea. And there's more oil under the UK. It's in so many places, but I'm not advocating for digging up like untouched natural areas in the UK, because we do have beautiful green areas and countryside. I'm not saying use that oil. I'm just saying we do have oil that we can drill in the sea, but we won't because it's not green, it's not ecological, it'll cause global warming. What, you mean how the average temperature of the world has gone up by 1 single degree Celsius in the last 200 years? Oh no, we're gonna fry! Anyway, that's my reaction to this video. I know I've gone off on one a little bit, but you guys, I know you guys like that. My regular viewers like that. I know you like it, especially Mikey. He loves it. If you want to see more videos like this, then let me know and I'll make them. But until next time, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and check out the Patreon. If you're a new viewer, I'm sure this will be the last time that I see you, because you're probably going to disagree with everything I've said. But I don't know if you're level-headed and agree with the things that I agree with, then I'm sure I'll hear from you once again. And welcome. You're more than welcome. Everybody's welcome on this channel. Not just people who agree with me, people who disagree with me. Welcome on this channel. One of my favourite subscribers is on the complete opposite side of the political spectrum to me. You know who you are. And yet he's one of my most incredible supporters. He really is. Not just in how much he supports the YouTube channel through comments, viewership, and likes, but other ways that he supports me as well. He goes above and beyond. So, yeah. If we disagree on something, it doesn't mean you're not welcome here. Everybody's welcome, but I'm just saying this might have annoyed a few people. So if it has, oh well. Doesn't mean you can't have a laugh and enjoy my content. But thanks for watching, and I will be back with more content soon. Take care.